Unicorns and glitter and taxidermy critters are just some of the things they like. They also enjoy 80s hair bands, Grizzly Adams and John Goodman, so if you think that's weird then you can take a hike. But the things they enjoy the most are making art and cracking jokes, so without further ado, here are your hosts. You've got your two artsy gals, your two artsy gals. Here are your two artsy gals.
Hey everybody, this is Katie.
And this is Sharon.
And you are listening to the Two Artsy Gals podcast. Woohoo! And
Yay!
Also to Sharon's wood stove opening and closing.
Oh.
I was like,
can you hear it?
I could. I was like, what is that?
Oh.
And then I realized, oh no, that's okay. I've got all kinds of weird noises going on in here today. As a matter of fact, if you hear a really creepy noise, it's my lilac tree has a dry limb that is scraping the side of my house.
Oh no.
And it makes the creepiest noise. Well, that's when the other day I thought my dog was chewing on something weird. It was the lilac tree. Making like this squeaky, weird, scrapey sound. I don't know. It was very strange. But I'm too short to reach that limb, so I have to find someone with a ladder. So if you hear, you're hearing weird shit, it's the sounds of winter coming.
Yeah, it's not a zombie scraping on the outside of your house.
No, I'd kill me a zombie. For sure. We have a zombie hatchet. I'm not even lying. It says zombie hatchet on it.
Well, you're prepared.
It's in our bedroom.
You're even more prepared.
It's weird that my husband has that. And a banjo. We have a zombie hatchet and a banjo in our room.
Well, if the hatchet doesn't work, then he'll just play him some music.
Lull him to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
With a lullaby. All right.
Yeah.
Maybe I can sew them an outfit while he's doing that.
Maybe.
So yeah, sewing. We're talking about it. Sharon and I both sew. We both really like sewing. Sharon, when did you start sewing? Like, how long have you been doing it?
I think I was in grade school. It was probably like 2nd or 3rd grade.
I think that's about the age I was when I started in 4-H sewing.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
Maybe
that's how my son started.
A little bit older than that, but I was in it for a few years before I made anything notable. But I did make a lavender pen skirt that got a blue ribbon in the Tillamook County Fair.
Oh, very good.
That's
awesome.
Pretty excited about it. So,
well, as you should be.
It was even in the newspaper.
Oh, wow.
That's what happens when you grow up in a small town.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Before that, my mom and both of my grandmothers sewed. So I was around it, and I was hand sewing little things.
Mm-hmm.
Back in, when I was really young, before they would let me. Actually, I don't think I started sewing until I was able to reach the pedals.
Okay.
For the sewing machine. That was kind of the deal. But I think at 4-H sewing, we had a little stool that we set there. They had something to make them come closer to me.
Right.
The pedal.
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome. I used to... What was the first little thing that you sewed besides the skirt that was notable?
I used to sew clothes for my Barbie dolls and stuff.
Oh. I used to sew clothes for my hamsters.
Yes, Sharon has been a fashion designer for rodents for many years. She is famous in some circles. I just love that you used to sew clothes for your hamsters. Like, so much. I just love it. I used to try to make clothes for my cats, but they were having none of that.
Well, yeah, as a 2nd grader, I could force those little hamsters to do a lot. Puffy and Carmel were really styling.
I bet they were.
Yeah.
My cat Tuffy
I only got bit a couple times.
You only got bit a couple times? I almost lost like half my face skin when I tried to put my cat Tuffy in a dress that I made for him, despite his big gray hairy testicles.
See, you should have started with hamsters.
We weren't allowed to have hamsters because we had like 10 fucking cats.
Oh.
Because that would not have ended well for the hamster. Oddly, rabbits are no more thrilled about clothing than cats are, so, you know.
Oh my gosh, I think I might have to post some pictures of the contest that this year's 4-H kids had. It was a costume contest, and there were chickens and rabbits and guinea pigs in little costumes, and it was freaking hilarious.
Why have I not seen pictures of this yet?
I did not get great pictures, but I will have to send them to you. They're so funny. There was one that a kid made a little motorcycle and managed to make a tiny little helmet for her little rooster. It was a bantam rooster, and that little rooster sat on the motorcycle.
Are you fucking kidding me? A bantam rooster? Aren't they a little bit testy?
No, some breeds of bantams aren't.
Oh, because I was going to say the one we had, the only one that was meaner than that was a fucking Rhode Island Red. We've talked all about him before, though. So.
Oh, yeah. They can be nasty. But my little bantam, Elvis, he's quite sweet.
Elvis. I love that name. You have good animal names.
Well, Elvis and Priscilla.
Well, of course. Well, when I get chickens, I am going to name them Rose, Sophia, Dorothy, and Blanche.
Well, obviously.
And I'm going to call them the Golden Girls. I'm going to paint it on their chicken coop. And my husband's disgusted with that idea. And I will make them fucking costumes so I can dress them up like the Golden Girls. How do you fucking like that?
There you go. See, it's totally possible. I'll send the pictures to prove it.
Do. Well, maybe we'll post some if they're... Well, I don't know about posting pictures of other people's kids, though. Is it just the animals? Or is it the kids?
I'll just send them to you because they're a little blurry. We could maybe block out some of them.
Dude,
we'll see.
I can Photoshop the shit out of some stuff. You know that, so don't worry about that. But, so, what are your favorite things to sew now as an adult? Like, what do you like sewing?
Let's see. I like to sew handbags. I like that because then I feel like it's something utilitarian. It's pretty quick to sew. And I really enjoy sewing pants for my kids.
That's so funny because it took me years to like pants. I hated pants.
Well, I have a really super easy pattern, and both my boys only like elastic-waisted pants.
That is going to serve you really well because I'm telling you, I'm sure you've already experienced like the whole, oh my God, I just got these pants for you. How are they 3 inches too short all of a sudden?
Yeah.
God, I got tired of that.
Yeah, that happens a lot. I mean...
See, and you're lucky because...
I haven't been sewing them very many pants lately just because I haven't had time, but yeah.
No, see, and my son hated that. He wouldn't... I think the elastic waist partially played into the puffy pants issue that he had. When I don't... Again, I think I've talked about it before on here. I don't know what the fuck puffy pants were, but my son is a Virgo, and he only would wear certain things that fit him a certain way, and if a pair of puffy pants got set out for him to wear... he would throw himself on the floor and have a meltdown. And my son did not throw tantrums. So this was like the ultimate. The only thing worse about that is socks that don't fit on his feet right.
Oh, yeah. I used to work at a sock store. I know those type of people.
Oh, my God. My dad, my brother, and my son, all weird sock people.
It's a thing.
It's a thing. It's weird.
Yeah.
But yeah. Do you sew clothes for yourself ever?
I have. I did my own bathing suit. I've done.
Really? I
did
totally
my prom
want to do
dress.
my own, but I'm afraid that I have a lot to hold up in a bathing suit.
I don't have much going on.
I don't want a wardrobe malfunction that is of my own doing.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good. Yeah, no, I sewed just a basic bathing suit. I've sewn pants for myself. Like I used to sew those wrap pants.
Oh,
They're
those
like
are cute.
Yeah, so I've done those. I don't do a lot of clothes for myself anymore. I just don't have time right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of what I sew. Sometimes I like to sew little stuffed animals.
Yeah, those are cute too. I've been doing a lot more sewing lately since I got my bigger studio. And now I have a whole separate desk for sewing.
That's awesome.
So, and I have room because before I would either have to use the desk that I did my artwork on, and I was always afraid to put my fabric on something that I'd been painting on. Because you never know when a sneaky blob of paint that you didn't notice or something you're going to find. And lay a piece of expensive fabric on a table is a sure way to find something on there that you didn't know was on there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, or I would have to commandeer the kitchen table. And, then you got to sit at the, it was annoying. But now that I have my own big sewing desk, I love it. I've been sewing way more, and I really like to sew clothes for myself.
Yeah, you sew a lot of nice clothes for yourself. It's awesome.
Right now, I'm really into, so I found this skirt at Goodwill that I really like. It's just a basic, straight, elastic waist, like mini skirt kind of thing, but it's a little loose, and I like to wear it with leggings underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
T-shirts, and I copied the pattern.
Oh, that's awesome.
I've made like 3 or 4 of them. I fucking love them.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. That's basically what I do with my son's pants, is I just copy a pattern from a pair of sweatpants or...
Mm-hmm. Sweatpants are pretty easy. I think when I was younger, well, and we'll get into this more in a few minutes, but I was pretty lazy about following patterns when I was younger, and yeah, you're not going to get pants that fit you right if you don't follow the pattern. If you're making a pair of fitted trousers.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. So that was where my problem with, I really, and honestly, I'm not going to lie, until probably my mid-30s, I didn't really pay attention to patterns, like the instructions on patterns. The reason I started doing that is I love sewing costumes. That's my favorite thing to sew.
Oh, yeah.
I love costumes
awesome
so much. I think when I started doing more elaborate costumes, and actually I think the first thing that I really read all the instructions for is when I sewed all the dresses for my wedding.
Oh, yeah.
Because I sewed all my bridesmaids' dresses, and they were like wench dresses. So it was a pattern, and then I sewed my own wedding dress, and I made 9 kilts.
That's amazing.
In less than 6 months, and if I could go back, I would slap myself and get eloped.
Yeah,
because that was so nuts. Like, I can't believe I did all that.
Crazy.
It was. I can't believe that my husband still married me after the havoc. Like, it literally looked like like a fabric store exploded in our house.
That's crazy.
Because I had, how many fucking bridesmaids did I have? I think I had 5 bridesmaids. So, I made 5 bridesmaids dresses, and I was going to make the flower girls dresses too, but I had to ask my mother-in-law to do it because...
because you'd only made 9 kilts, 5 dresses in your wedding dress? I mean, come on, Katie, that's kind of lazy.
And I finished my wedding dress the day before our wedding.
Oh.
Yeah, it was stupid. It wasn't like a big white foofy wedding dress. It was a costume dress. Like, it was... like a medieval looking empire waist brocade silk dress.
You need to post pictures of all of those.
I should, actually. I will post pictures. But yeah, so that's I like I like sewing clothing. I do that more. I did recently make myself a handbag, like a messenger bag.
Oh yeah, that was super cool.
I copied the pattern of one that I have that I don't like and made one that I like because I didn't have enough pockets, so I made one specifically with the pockets that I wanted in it.
That's awesome.
That one turned out, it was a learning experience, actually, because I didn't use a pattern. Clearly, Sharon and I have been sewing for a lot of decades, so we kind of wanted to go through, and first of all, I get so tired of hearing people say they can't sew when they've never tried to sew.
Yeah.
Because
it's
not that fucking hard.
No. I mean, did you hear that?
Class, we started as children. As not even double-digit age children, like little kids. So it's not hard. No,
it's not. Yeah, my son walks away each sewing class at 4-H with 1 or 2 items that he's made, and he's 8.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that he sews, too. I tried to get my son interested in it, and he really wasn't.
He really likes it. I think he likes the mechanical things. I think that it's important in that class because they go away with something.
Oh, yeah.
Some cool stuff, you know?
Well, that's part of the reason I like sewing, because sewing's pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God. I'm sorry, but the look that you just gave Danny, was he making noise that you didn't want him to make or something?
Uh-huh.
I have never seen you with a mean face before. And I was like, she just threatened to kill him with her eyes. I've never seen that look on your face. That was awesome. So, anyway.
Really? That wasn't even my meanest face.
No, it was awesome. It was an awesome face as far as I'm concerned. But, So Sharon and I wanted to go through, like, just some tips for beginners. Because, honestly, it's not something that you need to be afraid of. Really. Even if you only learn how to hem your own fucking pants instead of stapling the cuffs up or duct taping them. Yeah. Like, grown-ups do that. They hem their pants. Yes. Or they take them to someone to do it and pay them. But,
right.
But I know a surprising amount of grown-ups that tape their pants up with duct tape.
Oh, yeah.
Or staple them.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous. I don't know about you, but when people come to me and say, you should make me blah, 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 because you sew, it irks me.
Oh, yeah.
It irritates the shit out of me.
I've had a lot of people, like, want me to hem their pants or, do all that kind of stuff. It's like, I just don't have the time or interest.
No. And when I was a younger person, I struggled with saying no to people. Like, I didn't want people to think that I was mean. Now I'm like, no, I'm not going to fucking do that for you. Go to a dry cleaner and fucking pay them to do it.
Yeah.
Like, fuck off with that. It's a skill that people can have. I mean, I think a lot of people just don't want to know how to sew. But if you do and you're intimidated, you shouldn't be.
Totally. I met this woman, and she was actually at Joann's. It was a customer. And when she was in the military, she used to make about $900 extra a month because she would iron, hem, and just sew any little fixes on other people's uniforms that needed it. And she had, certain price. And
that's awesome.
And she made sure to teach her son that, and now he's in the military and is doing
he
the same
makes
thing.
Money. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
That's great. So
yeah, side thing.
I think it's important to start out with maybe because we had the advantage of, like, I don't know, does your mom sew?
Yes, she sews a lot. So
you had a mom that sewed and you were around it, and I'm sure she explained things to you and taught them to you while she was doing it. So we kind of grew up exposed to it before we ever started learning.
Right.
So I can see where some people who haven't been exposed to it might feel a little trepidatious about it. But the good thing is, in any town that you live in, look online for sewing classes, and they have cheap sewing classes.
Oh, totally.
Just a basic. If you live near a Joann's, they always have beginner sewing classes. Mm-hmm. I don't even think some of them you don't even have to have your own machine yet.
Yeah.
So take a beginner sewing class.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're like, I have a girlfriend who sews, but she, for some reason, she has a fucking lead foot on the thing. And you were saying that your son had that problem at first, and they have a shim that you can buy.
You don't even have to buy it. You can just, like, do it with whatever, like a piece of cardboard and tape it to the pedal. I never thought of that. So, yeah, you can stick a little piece of cardboard in there and make it so that you can't push it all the way down. Because you can't go fast unless you're really good at it and you're sewing something like with like curtains where you're doing a great big long straight line of stitching. You don't want to be going like at top speed. No.
That's a good way to either fuck it up what you're sewing or run over your finger with the sewing machine.
Right, and that's probably why the teacher knows about making the shim.
Oh, I'm sure.
Finger ran over plenty of times, and one of the assistants actually got her finger ran over by my son.
Oh, God. That's so
bad.
So
it's hurt her finger.
Oh. My singer has the wingnut when the needle's in all the way, as high as it can be. The little wingnut that screws it in is up and down, and it's on the side where I guide the fabric through. And every once in a while, I'm not paying attention, and it just goes thwack, and that wingnut whacks my first knuckle on my finger. Oh, God damn, that fucking hurts. But thankfully, it's not a needle going through. So
yeah, no kidding.
I would say to a beginner, start with cotton fabric.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I know that a lot of people they see fancy, pretty fabrics, and they're like, ooh, or fleece or something really cool. Start with cotton.
Yep, just a cotton percale. There's tons of patterns.
Yeah, super
different
easy.
Color, pretty, fabrics.
Yeah, it is the easiest fabric by far to work with.
And then just sew something really simple, like a 9-patch pillow.
Yeah, just make and I'll find videos for you because in the age of YouTube, when you can go, I'm sorry if you heard that burp. When you can go on YouTube and say, how do I sew a pillow? And find 45 videos on how to sew a pillow, go watch it. You can if you don't want to pay for a class, you can get free classes on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely start with cotton, and one piece of advice that I would definitely give people is use the correct sewing needle for the fabric.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really easy to tell. And if you're at a store and you're unsure, I'm sure if you ask someone at like a Joann's Fabrics or any other fabric store, they will help you. But it says right on the back, the needles are color coded and it tells you what fabrics they're made for. So
yes.
Like, I think the blue needles on most of them are heavy fabrics like denim. And then it goes down from there, and maybe the yellows are sheer fabrics or whatever. But so a cotton would be like a medium fabric, and it'll say cotton fabric on there. So that's important because, believe it or not, using the wrong fabric or the wrong needle for the fabric you're using can totally make the sewing machine not work.
Totally, yeah. For sure. And then also making sure that you have the right settings. Read your manual. The manuals are always pretty basic and they're really helpful.
Yeah.
For your tension.
And most sewing machines now, like, let's kind of jump ahead to sewing machines too, because I feel like it's going to be hard to talk about pointers without addressing sewing machines. But even most basic sewing machines now kind of set their tension automatically. So you don't have to really screw with that a lot. You shouldn't have to anyway. If everything's set right. And as far as beginner sewing machines, I would just I just bought a Singer, I have my first brand new sewing machine in my entire life that I got for Mother's Day. And I was so excited about it because I've never had a brand new sewing machine that was all my own. And I just wanted a basic machine. Don't get anything computerized.
No.
Don't get anything that does fancy shit. Just buy a basic machine with, your basic set of stitches with a dial on it. That's all you need.
Oh, totally. My son just got one. It's a Brother.
That's a good brand too.
That's a really good brand, but it is like the most basic of basic, and it's a great little machine. I've used it, and it's more basic than my basic machine that's from like the 70s. But it's great because it's just, yeah, you need forward, backward, and your basic stitches.
Couple of zigzag stitches, a buttonhole stitch, but even don't let that intimidate you.
I don't even use, I've hardly, well, I shouldn't say that. I do use it occasionally, but you almost don't even need that.
Yeah.
You're just, yeah.
And, like the sewing machine that I learned to sew on was it was a Singer, but it was, I think, from the late 1950s. It was the last cast iron body machine that they made. And my dad bought it for my mom when they were stationed in Samoa, when my dad was in the Coast Guard, and the high school got rid of their old sewing machines and bought new ones. So all it had was a forward and backwards and 3 different speeds. It didn't even have a zigzag stitch.
Oh, wow.
So and it had like a buttonhole attachment to it. And it was really, sorry, I had to close that door. It was, I still have it. I love that machine. I use it for sewing denim and heavy stuff because it is a beast.
Yeah.
But you don't avoid all the bells and whistles. A good starter machine is probably going to cost you about $100 depending on the brand that you get. Between $50 and $100.
And sometimes look on Craigslist or garage sales for like people, like especially estate sales, because they're just going to be sewing machines that probably some little old lady used. It's in probably good condition. And if you take it to get a tune-up, you're set to go.
Well, I just sold one for $25 at my garage sale I had over the summer.
Yeah.
I had an extra Singer that somebody gave me because I think they gave it to me in trade for something. But I have 4 machines that I use all the time. I don't need any more than that.
Right.
So I just sold it for $25. And some sweet little gal came in and said she wanted to learn how to sew. And I said, this is perfect. It was a little Singer, a basic machine. So yeah, definitely check garage sales. And I don't know so much about secondhand stores anymore because they've gotten pretty if it's a good thrift store, I would look there, but I have noticed, like, particularly with Goodwill, for things like sewing machines and stuff, they're getting a little bit ridiculous on their pricing.
Yeah, they are.
It offends me a lot.
It offends me too.
So I would just watch it with those. But one thing that I will say, if you're going to buy a used sewing machine, always ask if you can plug it in and see if it runs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's a really good idea. That's a really good tip. And then, yeah, and just like I said, go get it tuned up, too.
Definitely. If you buy it used, you probably have to have it tuned up. That runs between, I don't know, what would you say, between $30 and $70, depending on what needs to be done. Sometimes, and take it to a sew and vac shop if you can find one, because they're less expensive than going to like a sewing machine center or something like that. I won't mention any names, but there's one around. You know which one I'm talking about in Beaverton. They told me how much it would be to service my my old Singer, and I almost fucking fainted. I laughed and turned around and left the store because I had no words.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not paying you that to service my sewing machine. Fuck off. I'll go oil it my own self. So,
yeah. Wow.
So, but a basic machine is all you need. And again, buy a used one. If you're not sure if you want to commit to a sewing hobby, don't, just buy a used one.
Well, that's another good reason to take a class.
Definitely.
And then you'll learn those basic things. And that's with anything. I've totally taken lots of classes where I'm like, nah, I'll probably never do this again, but glad that I made this like one project. Or, oh, wow, I really want to get into this. I want to get the equipment for it. Or maybe you just want to keep taking, maybe you still want to just keep taking the sewing classes and use their sewing machines to make a few projects.
Or even if you might find out if someone that you know has a sewing machine that they'll let you use on occasion. Let's talk a little bit about patterns.
Okay.
Because really, people that want to sew, like, I've actually had people show up in my house with a pattern and ask me to make Sharon's mouth just flew open. I've seriously had people do this to me.
Wow.
Show up at my house with a pattern and, like, they're coming over in the guise of coming over to hang out with me. And then be like, oh yeah, by the way, do you think you could make this dress for me?
Oh my god.
But
that's not like making a hanky holder.
No, this is a big thing. But I think that 9 out of 10 times when these people have done this, it's because they get really confused about the patterns.
And I think people have no idea when you're making a garment how much work goes into it. And I just think that they think, oh, you sew, you enjoy it. You don't mind making something for me.
I like making things for me.
Yeah.
Or for my, like.
For your niece.
I make things for my niece or my son, or I would if someone asked me to and I had the time, I would probably make something for someone.
But people need to pay you for that time.
Oh, yeah, totally. But here's the thing about patterns. Don't look at the whole pattern. Like, it is so easy to be overwhelmed when you unfold that tissuey paper and go, oh my god, what in the fuck did I just get myself into?
Yeah.
So, this is what I always do when I'm making a dress or any garment. I sew dresses and skirts more often than not because that's what I like to wear. But I go through and I find the letter of the garment that I'm making, because most patterns have an A, B, C, or D option. So I find the letter I'm making, and there'll be a key on the pattern, and I go through and I highlight my key and all the parts, the pieces that I have to cut out, because it'll give you the list of pieces that you need to cut out. I highlight that and I fold it over, and then I find those pieces and I just whack them out roughly.
Yep.
From the big pattern thing, set them down, fold everything else, put it away, and then I only have what I need in front of me.
Yeah, really good idea.
So, and then when you cut them out, you're basically, you're cutting out the line that says your size on there. Don't worry if you cut off, I always cut off those little pointy things. Like, you don't have to cut those out on the pattern. Just make sure that you mark them on your fabric to
right,
cut them out.
Right, because they still have the marks.
Yeah, it still tells you where it is. You don't have to be that fussy cutting it out.
Yeah.
The only thing about cutting out patterns that you need to remember is follow your line and don't use your fucking fabric scissors cutting paper.
Yeah.
That's it. But you do want to take the time, and this is where I used to get into trouble when I was younger and more impatient. You need to transfer all the marks from the pattern onto your fabric.
Yes.
And
yeah.
you
Whether
also...
it's a pin or a little clip or cutting the triangle out.
Mm-hmm. And you need to pay attention to the straight of grain.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how you end up with... if I can find it... I don't think I have a picture of them because this was pre-digital picture days. But when I was about 19, 20, I found this fabric at Goodwill that was like blue with yellow and red stripes, like vertical stripes.
Mm-hmm.
And I made myself a pair of bib overalls with big sunshine buttons. Yes, this was in my hippie Grateful Dead days.
Wow.
But I didn't line up the straight of grain, which is really important with a patterned fabric.
Yeah.
So I had stripes, but they were like leaning like on one side. They were kind of going away from each other, and they were like, because I just pinned fabric down. But if you look on your pattern, it gives you a little map of how to lay out your fabric or your patterns on your fabric. And just to explain what the straight of grain is, every pattern piece will have a long line down the center of it with an arrow at either end. And the only thing you have to do with that is measure the distance between that line in the first place that you pin it and the salvage edge of your fabric, which is the edge that looks clean and not cut.
Mm-hmm.
And then make sure that it's the same distance all the way down the piece of fabric.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you got to do. And you only have to measure it in a couple of spots because it's not going to change that much.
Right.
But these are the kind of things that they seem like such a pain in the ass at the time. And you just kind of want to go, meh, I don't need to do that. But they make the difference between something that you're proud to wear and something that you're going to donate to Goodwill and hang your head in shame over. Because I've done that too.
And that's why it's also important to look at how much fabric you need, like how many yards.
Definitely.
And don't skimp, because a lot of times that's because of the grain and of the pattern and the fabric.
Well, and also, I always buy at least a quarter of a yard more than I need.
Mm-hmm.
It's better to have too much and have some left over for another project someday than to... Because now, this is a little bit more advanced that we're talking about, but I always have to adjust patterns. Because I can't buy patterns that are cute and pretty that I like that are big enough to fit over my boobs.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to buy patterns that are smaller and then adjust for boobs.
Oh, yeah.
So, and it took me a lot of years to figure that out. So, and I'm still not always super awesome at it. But I have to make the boobs bigger on patterns. So I always have to buy more fabric. Because, I mean, not that much more. It's not, it's not like a huge adjustment. But, but it's always better to have too much fabric. So, can you think of anything that I missed about patterns that...
I don't think so.
Other than start with something fucking easy.
Yeah, totally.
Like, simplicity patterns are the best.
Oh, yeah, I love simplicity patterns. And they're less expensive, too.
They are less expensive. I will give everyone a tip right now. I do not buy patterns in the fabric store because they're about 15 to... They can range from 10 to some are $25.
Yeah, they have gone way up. I remember as a kid you could get like $1.99.
Yeah, we used to have a store called Coronet in Tillamook, and you could go buy. We used to go buy patterns all the time. They were like $2. But if you go, there's a website called sewingpatterns.com, and if you register with them, every season when they change the pattern books, they have a $2.99 pattern sale.
Oh, nice.
All of that, like Simplicity or McCall's or whatever. I really steer away from the Butterick patterns. I think they're hard to use. I think their instructions are difficult. And if you're a beginning sewer, I would definitely... more than one of those patterns has left me crying.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I have to agree with you. I tend to go towards the Simplicity patterns.
Butterick and Vogue in particular, I avoid like the plague.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're really, I think that a lot of times, especially with the butter patterns, they write their pattern instructions assuming that you are an expert level sewer.
Mm-hmm.
They don't dumb their shit down for beginners. They just say, da-da-da, stitch in the ditch and bloody, bloody, blah. And sometimes I didn't know what the fuck that was the first time I saw it.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, just stick with something easy and and start, like Sharon said, start with an easy project. Do a skirt or a pillow or, something easy. And you can buy patterns for pillows and handbags too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you
absolutely.
don't have to wing it yourself. Those are all really good projects to start with, though, I think. Yeah. Maybe doll clothes. I don't know. No, well, we don't talk about dolls on this podcast anyway. So.
No, we don't.
No. This is a mixed media arts podcast, so we kind of wanted to talk about our love of sewing because we both like to do it as a hobby. We both like to make clothing and accessories and stuff, and I think sewing's, I have sewing tattoos. It is a part of who I am. Like, I love it enough that I have 2 tattoos designed around sewing. So I'll have to post pictures of them. I never thought of that.
Yeah, you will.
But we also, I think once you get to a certain level of sewing, it's almost like a challenge to figure out what else you can sew.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you feel like that sometimes?
Yeah, I think so too.
Like, could I sew this? I probably could. Like, I made a wallet for someone once of, I saw this thing on how to reuse plastic grocery bags.
Uh-huh.
Where you iron them between parchment paper, I think, and it kind of melts them together and makes like almost like I can't think of it, like a Tyvek.
Huh.
Only plastic, and I sewed a wallet out of them.
Oh, wow.
But it was stinky, and we don't have plastic bags in Multnomah County anymore, so it's hard to find them.
Yeah.
Which is a weird thing to say. Well, it is a good thing, but it's weird to say. Yeah, I think that it's just a natural transition to start incorporating sewing into your mixed media art, and I think that we've touched on it a little bit in different episodes of this podcast, but I very often use sewing in mixed media art projects that I'm doing. And I know that you've also done that with some of your work too. Yeah.
I like to sew on cards and add those even to, paintings.
And you can hand sew or use a machine. I sew on paper bags all the time. That's my favorite thing to sew on. Mm-hmm. Is a paper bag for any kind of project like that. I love it.
Oh, yeah. I do too. There's something really rewarding about just hearing that noise.
It does make a special cool sound when you're sewing. Yeah. It's hard to describe, but it is a cool noise that it makes.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
It kind of makes me really happy. I was thinking the other day, even when I was just sewing, I'm so thrilled with my new sewing machine because I have my older Singer that it's getting to be it needs another tune-up, so it's kind of persnickety these days. Mm-hmm. So, and I have an embroidery machine that my mother-in-law gave me that's really cool. And I embroidered the patch for my bag that I made. That skull.
Oh, yeah.
That's an embroidery pattern that I bought online. You put it on a card, you plug it in. And it's all computerized and it is very picky. It's insane. Like, I broke it. I don't know what the fuck I did. I took it to my mother-in-law and she turned it on and it worked fine. So, and the only thing that she could figure out is that I had a Singer brand sewing needle in a Brother machine.
Oh, how funny.
And that sewing machine is that sensitive. So I don't use that very often unless I'm doing something with embroidery. And I have a serger, which I use when I'm sewing knits and stuff. But my new sewing machine that I just wanted a little workhorse. And I was sewing with it the other day, and I got this, like, almost giddy high feeling because it sounded so awesome. I was like, this is the best sounding little machine I have ever owned. Because it was just whirring right along and doing its business. And the noise was it was such a great sound. I loved it. It was great. I don't know. It made me get all giddy. I was like,
yeah. I have to agree. I totally love that sound, too.
Kind of gets you in your zone. It's almost like a not hypnotic, but a meditative.
Yeah, meditative
sound. We'll probably put up some examples, but I know we've put up examples before of work that we've done sewing in. But I know people who sew entire books.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they
awesome.
do, when they're in bookbinding, when they're doing art journals, they sew the covers. There's one lady who does she quilts the covers of them. And that is one thing that I cannot do. I fucking suck at quilting.
Yeah, it's hard.
I am not patient enough to do that. You have to be very precise. You have to measure. You have to use a ruler. You have to iron everything. And even when I'm trying really hard, I end up with things mismatched and not lined up right. And it
yeah, me too.
Angers me to know. My dad's wife enters quilts in contests.
Oh, awesome.
Like, she does. I'll ask her permission to post a couple pictures of her work, because she does really beautiful quilts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she made my dad says that he did most of the work, but I kind of have my doubts, but they made us one for our wedding gift.
Oh, awesome.
And she made one for my niece when she was born, and they made one for my son for Christmas one time, but they're just, but the ones that she does, that she enters, are, wow. They're art quilts.
Oh, yeah. Some of those quilts are incredible.
They're crazy incredible. And she makes a big one every year and donates it to, it's not Race for the Cure. It's a cancer walk, but it's not a breast cancer. I think it's a more general, I can't think of what it is, but they do it every year at the coast. And she donates a big quilt to that they auction off, and they always make a lot of money.
That's awesome.
Can you think of other unique ways that people use sewing in their mixed media art that we're missing?
Well, even remember the Lisa Kaiser, who we talked about with the, what did we talk about her for?
Oh, her felting.
Yeah, her felting. She sews a lot in her stuff.
Yeah, she makes little clothes for them and stuff. And,
and she sews these little boats.
Oh my God, that's so cool. And actually, I have seen people even sew vases and bowls and stuff. Like, obviously for display, not for putting stuff in.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a way to sew almost anything. And hand sewing is really something that I think is a skill that people should try to have.
Oh, for sure.
Not even with a machine, just hand sewing. Because I honestly don't, unless I'm working with a knit fabric, but all my nice dresses that I make, I hand sew every single one of those hems.
Oh, yeah.
I don't use a machine for that because it's easier.
Yeah, it looks a lot nicer.
It gives it a prettier, like a blind stitch. And it's easier if you have to let something out, like make it longer, or if you screwed up and made it too short and you need to let it out a little bit. It's way easier to undo a hand sewn hem than it is to undo a machine sewn hem.
Absolutely.
So you want to hear me swear more than I already swear. Catch me on a day when I have to rip a seam out that I've sewn. I'm like, God damn seam ripping. I sound like Fred Flintstone.
Yeah, I have to agree. It sucks.
I don't like it. And I always stab myself with my seam ripper.
Oh, no.
Or I cut my fabric because I get impatient.
Oh, yeah, that's the worst.
It just pisses me off.
The worst.
But yeah, I feel like, are we missing anything? Or
I don't think so.
We've been talking for a really long time. This is a long episode.
It is.
So definitely, I think our point in even this entire podcast is to maybe make people aware of things that they're not aware of, or make people not feel so intimidated about things that they've been afraid to try. Because I don't think there's any harm in trying something.
Oh, not at all.
It's not gonna, just give it a whirl and take a class, look up things online. I'll find some good basic videos for you guys to watch that'll maybe make you not so scared.
Yeah, do it.
Anyway, if you have any questions about sewing that we didn't answer, or comments about this episode, you can email us at 2artsygals@gmail.com, and you can go check out our show notes and stuff after this episode on the website, and I'll post some links to some videos and stuff, and maybe some articles that give more tips about beginner sewing. Be sure to check out our sponsors tab, go check out our blog. It's 2artsygals@wordpress.com, and you can always see the show notes and links that we put up. And you can also subscribe to our podcast on Stitcher and iTunes. Should totally go do that. Or you can subscribe through it. If you use an email reader, you can subscribe through our RSS feed on our blog as well. And I think this will be airing the day before Thanksgiving. So I hope everybody has a safe and happy Thanksgiving and you eat lots of food and have a good time.
Yeah. Gobble.
You don't have a fucking family fiasco. I'm nervous. We're having fucking Thanksgiving at my house for the first time ever. So I don't know how it's going to go.
Well, a lot of wine can really soften the edges of any stressful situation.
Oh, liquor is involved. But also I'm going to be recovering from ankle surgery, so I will have narcotics. So I'm thinking I'm going to be just peachy no matter what.
Very good.
All right. Well, I think, oh wow, we're going to be starting after this episode with our month-long holiday fest.
And then you can see Katie turn into Buddy Elf.
And I think our first one, we're going to be talking about giving Christmas gifts handmade gifts that don't fucking suck. So You'll definitely want to tune in for that one. So make sure you do that. And until next time, go make some cool shit. Yo.